Hello again, and welcome back to Animation Fascination. I'm Mark Bibber, and with me again is Stanford Clark.
Hey,
Hey. This week is episode 114 of Animation Fascination. And if you guys haven't listened or watched this podcast before, we focus on the world of animation. In each episode, we feature all the latest news from around the animation industry, and the main topic discussing a TV series, film, or something else. Whether it's traditionally hand drawn, computer generated, or stop motion, if it's animated, it is up for discussion to geek out about. So Stanford and I have a little bit of catching up to do because the past few episodes have been like crossover episodes, like with various other shows between whether it's over with the Vectorverse or Beer with Geeks or Sandbox Gamers. Uh, but Stanford wasn't able to join for most of those, so now I'm gonna have to get your takes really quick on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem.
yes, which
So
I
what did you
totally
think of
loved.
that?
I had absolute blast that film. I just thought everything was spot on. I thought the animation was fantastic, was original and fresh, so fun to look at. Loved the cast. I really loved that they hired teenagers to
Oh
play
yeah,
the turtles. To be the voice of the turtles. The humor was fantastic. Jackie Chan. Oh my gosh, that just that for me, I just thought that was just so
yeah.
so brilliant. Anyway, I loved it. I'm sorry I missed that episode because it would have been fun to gush more over it. They did
What
such a
was
great job.
what was your favorite scene from the movie?
It was where yeah, one of the fights, uh, and they're like fighting in Jackie Chan style. I mean the way that
Oh
they
yeah,
animated.
yeah.
What fight was that, Mark? I mean that was um and which sequence I made, but oh my
Yeah, I think
goodness,
so. Uh,
so great.
yeah, like that mine is the basically the side-scrolling old boy homage
Yeah.
scene with no
Yes,
diggity playing over that,
yes,
and it's somehow already on digital for home, even though it came out in theaters. What uh, our episode for it came out August 13th, which
it
was
was in
about
August. Yeah,
yeah, which was
early
about
August, like a month
two
ago.
yeah, which was about the movie came out like what August 5th.
Was it August
So yeah,
2nd or something?
so that was less than a month.
Wow.
I guess if you count like the two kind of sneak previews, they did that Saturday sneak preview, and then they did
Yeah,
like an
that's
early.
true. Right.
That's still only a month though, which I don't know. I mean, I guess the physical release of it won't come out until maybe November or
Right.
December, but still, I don't know. Sometimes that's weird because I feel like it's gonna eat into how potentially how well it's doing. I guess we'll
Yeah.
see. I know it's not animated. There's some animated stuff in it, but like the Juggernaut that is Barbie this year is coming out in digital on Tuesday.
Yeah.
So we'll see how maybe that affects how well it keeps doing at the box office, especially because they're going to release an IMAX version of it later in September
Later,
too.
September 22nd, I think
Yeah,
is yeah.
so we'll watch that with great interest to see how that's all
Yes, we
affected
will.
there.
Yeah.
But and then you said you hadn't seen the whole season of My Adventures with Superman. You'd watched the first episode. What did you think of what you've seen of that so
So
far?
much fun, and it's just I think for me it was just a matter of carving out time to watch, making it a priority. I
Yeah.
I loved the I thought the animation looked great. I thought it was fun to see Superman in anime, or at least in kind of that anime
Oh yeah.
style. And I just liked the tone of it, how uh it just felt like Superman, and it was cheery and fun, lively and fun. I was really impressed with it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think we said it, but it was animated by Studio Mir, 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 whatever. South Korean animation studio. They did one of the
They
Star
did
Wars
one of those
Visions
Star Wars
shorts
Visions. Yeah.
recently. Yeah, the most recently. So, and they've done the more recent like animated Mortal Kombat
Oh
films
yeah.
too. Uh, so people have seen some of their stuff some other places too. But yeah, I said it in some of those, but like I basically had like a day that I was able to go through and binge
You're able to binge.
like
Nice.
the third through 10th episode of the season to
Okay.
finish it off. But yeah, I would highly recommend it to anybody that hasn't watched it. So if you get some time to go back through and finish it off, I would definitely suggest that for you. Uh, but kind of going from there, speaking of Warner Brothers animation,
Yeah.
we'll get right into our news this week. So the first bit of news uh, is, and this has thing kind of been coming for a while too, is uh, again, and I've reposted this on the Animation Fascination Instagram and Twitter and I think Facebook too, but just that like we support the Writers Guild strike and the actors strike, and just want them all, everyone that's involved within the guilds to get the proper compensation that they should be for the
Yeah.
work that they're doing. Um, and in connection with that, Cartoon Network, Warner Brothers animation production staff had filed to unionize. This was about a month or so ago, uh, basically, and there's never really been like an animation union. So the production staff of like 66 employees from Warner Brothers Animation and 22 from Cartoon Network filed a petition for a union election with the National Labor Relations Board. So it's seeking like voluntary recognition of the union as a part of the Animation Guild. So that would be like stuff that's Warner Brothers Discovery, so like everything that's on HBO Max, and all that. And kind of in connection with that too, we've also seen recent like the visual effects for
Yeah.
specifically like Marvel Studios, like because they've
Marvel
never had a union
Studios.
either. And I want to say uh, Disney visual effects in general.
Yeah, I was gonna say, wasn't it just just within the Walt Disney Studios that they
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's good. Uh, I mean, these strikes are still going on. We still support them and want the people to get, because like, and I want like some people that like may see the strikes and be like, oh, don't they get like millions of dollars? Yeah, that's maybe like that top like 2% of the actors or the screenwriters or directors that you know of, like, and know their names or whatnot. But then there's everybody else that works
Everybody
on
else.
stuff, or even if you do know their name, maybe they did one thing and you like love that, and that show is like super popular on like whatever streaming thing it is, whether it's Netflix or whatever else. But the way that streaming goes, they the whole residual stuff doesn't happen anymore with that. So something could be making the heads of Netflix tons and tons of money just off replaying content from 15, 20 years ago, and it's doing super popular on there, like stuff like Gilmore Girls or like The Office on Peacock, or like shows that have become like these bingeable, or just like someone never maybe watched it when it was on TV, but now it's like super popular on there now, and none of the people that were involved with making it are kind of, I don't know. It's stuff that needs to get worked out, and then everything as far as like AI goes with
Oh, that
the
AI stuff.
generating, like you could
Yeah.
essentially generate like one person and then like redo their voice and stuff. So it's essentially
Right.
people just like fighting for their likenesses too, so that you
Right.
can't just record someone or like scan them in and then basically use them for
So they don't have
pure
to actually hire the living
eternity.
person, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So hopefully, like with this all, like more studios or and more animation guilds are able to become part of this so that they can get properly compensated and whatnot.
Yeah.
But yeah, so from there, I will pass it off to you for
So I've got a
another thing that's
couple.
connected to DC, Warner Bros.
Yeah, I was gonna
DC.
say we're keeping it with DC, right? So you know, uh, from this great article we read from heroichollywood.com, uh, they say, and I agree with you that we're really living in a new renaissance of animated media, particularly superhero right?
Okay.
I mean, with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, and then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles this year in particular, you know, Mutant Mayhem. It was awesome, right? I mean, it's been so great. So you know, James Gunn, who is running, you know, I guess say he's co-chair, right, of DC Studios with Peter Safran. But
Right.
James is really the one who's focused on the content, where James is focused, or excuse me, where Peter is more focused on production, um, and the finance and all that, you know, all that other kind of behind the scenes stuff. But anyway, DC. So some of these new DC animated DC Comics titles, they're going to get a theatrical release too. So when I had first heard about, you know, read about some of their plans, James Gunn and Peter Safran's plans, I thought that the majority of these films were going to go straight to the streaming service formerly known as HBO Max. You know,
Yeah,
but
kind of similar to like the more recent stuff like War World or um, all of like that kind of like DC
yeah,
animated stuff that we had
yeah.
been talking about.
So you know, we don't know what exact titles are going to be put in the theaters, or you know, we don't know the specifics of the slate. But other than that, it seems to me that they've talked about their first real project, animated project, is going to be Creature Commandos.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's like stay tuned. But James Gunn's paying attention, I think, to this animated renaissance. And this is gonna be really cool, I think, to see what they come up with. What would you like to see, Mark? As kind of like the first DC Studios animated feature that they put in theaters.
Now, Creature Commandos is supposed to be a TV series, correct?
I think you're right, but also, you know,
Okay.
they're saying that it's, you know, are they going to have a, you know, kind of
Yeah,
a 2 hour
because
episode one, you know, that they're going to put in
maybe.
the
Yeah.
theaters? I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that could be interesting. Yeah, because and we don't know exactly like what they'll do animation style wise. Like they kind of released that image for Creature Commandos,
Yeah,
so I'm wondering if it'll like because sometimes like what they release for like a concept art for something could look vastly different from what like the final movie ends up looking like. So I'm curious exactly for like the style of what the movie may end up looking like for that. Uh, and then however that may be, usually because a lot of the stuff that James Gunn does too is like very visually impressive a lot of the times
yeah,
too, and like the shots are very uh, artistically composed and usually lots of colors. Like if you think about like maybe just the Guardian, the Galaxy movies in particular, or even his the Suicide Squad movie, just think, or even like the Peacemaker TV series. If just thinking of those different projects, and if you had like a color theory like chart or graph for those movies, you'd see like this like huge like spectrum of color. So I I'm very kind of curious and excited to see what animated films within the DC universe could look like with his kind of creative touch. Maybe not necessarily, you know, like as like a director or anything like that, but as like a producer, kind of with like his hand in the pot of it and kind of
yeah.
making some decisions. It'll be interesting to see uh, what that'll look like. So I'm cautiously optimistic to see what we'll get from the new DC studios and the animated films that'll come from that.
Yeah, I agree. I'm excited. Uh, Going from kind of feeling excited to feeling kind of like, man, Paramount Pictures, you know, has their own animation studio, Paramount Animation. And according to a recent report on cartoonbrew.com, uh, they, I guess, were quoting a profile of Paramount Pictures CEO Brian Robbins that was published in Daily Variety. And Robbins is talked about the animation slate. And, uh, you know, speaking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that is probably going to be the most successful released so far from Paramount Animation. And what Robbins is saying, at least what he said about it in this article, is that Paramount Animation is really not going to be focused on original animated stories, at least for the time being. That they are going to, in place of original concepts, they are going to focus on stories from Nickelodeon, so Nickelodeon IP. What this article is saying is that Paramount Animation is going to turn into a clearinghouse for Nickelodeon IP, which doesn't sound that great. They're developing a sequel to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: Mutant Mayhem, and who can blame them, because that was awesome and successful. They've also got a spin-off series that they're working on for Paramount Plus called Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And then the studio is also working on more SpongeBob SquarePants universe titles that are going to go on Netflix. And then, of course, a series of Avatar: The Last Airbender films, which I think we're all, interested about. Also, they've got a new Paw Patrol movie that's coming out at the end of the month.
Yeah,
so,
with directed by a former guest, Fascination guest, Cale Brunker. So
yeah, and I got to meet him, or I got to talk with him too, with my friend Rachel's Reviews.
Cale's cool.
Super nice guy, and that's wish him the best. My little nephews love Paw Patrol, the TV show, so I'm sure they're gonna go crazy over this new movie. But
please
don't tell me.
I sent him a thing after I saw it. After Barbenheimer this past summer, the movie that comes out the same day as the Saw Patrol movie, or sorry, see, I already messed up. The Paw Patrol movie is Saw 10, so that's being called Saw Patrol. And I sent that to him, and he was just like, nice.
That's hilarious.
But
yeah, that's probably not gonna get.
Yeah, if people thought Barbenheimer was like a very wide
very different
genreized. Imagine watching the Paw Patrol movie and then going into Saw 10 or vice versa.
Yeah. The Cartoon Brew people aren't that impressed with this philosophy. What they say is, best of luck to Robbins and his all-in on Nick strategy. It's going to look like a brilliant decision after Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was released, and we know that movie's been successful, and it was great. But and then just to quote the author, but I'm guessing a few years from now, he's going to come to the realization that abandoning original ideas is neither a viable nor smart long-term strategy for any feature animation division. He's got a point. So we'll see what happens with Paramount.
Yeah, and that's interesting too, with at least the SpongeBob stuff specifically going to Netflix, especially because Paramount Plus is a thing. You'd think they'd want.
I just wonder how that works. If there was some existing contracts, as Netflix was on that spending spree,
Yeah, and we haven't really talked about it, but they'll probably end up being this kind of like streaming bubble, like burst thing, where I've already kind of seen it with like Max, formerly known as HBO Max, and Disney Plus doing like the tax write-off of their original series where they've taken them off of there, and then other stuff like we're not going to talk about it as a separate thing, but like Disney canceling the Spiderwick Chronicles TV series before that's completely finished, completely done, effects, everything. It's like it's in like you could be handed to somebody and it's completely done, and it's canceled before it ever dropped on the streaming service, and apparently it's being shopped around to be licensed somewhere else. But I think it's going to end up happening is that we'll go down back to like a very few streaming services, maybe 2 or 3, and then the other studios will just license all their stuff out to those different places, and we can already kind of see that happening with some of that stuff, like between Like that Batman Crusader thing that was
Yeah,
originally being made for Max is, I think, on going to Netflix now.
yeah, it's going to Netflix, I think. Yeah,
Yeah, which I still think would have been funny if it gone to Disney Plus, where you could have watched Batman and Iron Man at the same time.
at the same time.
But yeah, I think that's like Spider-Man Chronicles will probably end up on Netflix or maybe Paramount Plus too, because that was one of those things too with like a lot of TV shows uh, will be produced by a certain studio, but then air on a different network. So like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, when that was on originally, was on Fox, but it was produced by Universal. So when Fox canceled it, that's why when it came back to NBC.
Yeah,
So maybe Paramount Plus will save Spider-Man Chronicles because they produced it for Disney Plus. So I guess we'll see what happens there.
yeah.
But speaking of stuff that's been, I guess, delayed or moved is, and we kind of predicted this back when we did our Across the Spider-Verse episode, uh, is that the Beyond the Spider-Verse has been indefinitely delayed between the strikes going on and like
Animator
yeah
exhaustion.
yeah like that whole story that we talked about before too, and then like I remember they had said like they hadn't even recorded any dialogue yet back in June for Beyond the Spider-Verse. So, which is still weird to me because like when they announced both of them, I just assumed that meant they were working on it in the same way that like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy had been done, where it was like all filmed concurrently, or uh, Back to the Future Part 2 and 3, those were filmed concurrently. I mean, granted, that was originally filmed to be one movie, Back to the Future Paradox, and then they ended up splitting it into two movies. But uh, yeah, so I think I don't know. I don't know like what happened all there with like the
Yeah,
production of it, where they're like, all right, this movie's done, and now we start this movie, even though it's supposed to come out March next year.
yeah.
Um, but I don't know. So I don't know when we'll get it. I'd like them to take as much time as they need to finish it properly, allow people proper rest, and like non crazy hours, 6 to 7 days a week, uh, to make Beyond the Spider Verse, because I can wait as long as it takes to make the movie. Because how long was the first Into the Spider Verse came out in 2018?
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So
then this
we
one
had a
just came
wait.
out this year. So yeah,
Yeah.
was that like 5 years? I can wait another 5 years. I don't care. There's other stuff that ends with a cliffhanger that we've waited longer
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
So we can we can wait.
We
It's
can
all
do
right.
it.
Just make the movie the best that it can be, especially with Into the Spider Verse and Across the Spider Verse already being two really great movies. You don't want to be like, oh yeah, we got 2 for 2 so far, and then coming in like whiff it to conclude it. So take as much time as you need to making the third movie.
Yeah.
And you don't even have to worry about your actors aging out of the roles too,
That's
because
right. Because
it's animated.
they're
So
animated.
Shamik Moore's voice will sound
Yeah.
pretty close to what it sounds like now, depending on when you record that dialogue for Beyond the Spider Verse. Uh, but segueing from the Spider Verse back to Disney.
Back to Disney,
Yeah.
clearly Frozen is one of the biggest franchises that Disney just got. Two huge movies, merch everywhere, rides going in everywhere. They're just about to open up a Frozen ride at Hong Kong Disneyland, and one's getting built in Disneyland Paris. And anyway, it goes on and on. But and then also Bob Iger announced Frozen 3, right? But Disney Publishing, along with ABC Audio and Walt Disney Animation Studios, has produced a Frozen kind of audiobook series that they're going to release as a podcast. They're calling it Frozen Forces of Nature. It's going to take place in between Frozen 2 and then whatever they're going to develop for Frozen 3. but it's a 12-part series. It's going to launch later this year. I don't have a start date of it, but what an interesting way to carry on the, Frozen storyline. It kind of, in a
Yeah.
way, feels like you're taking it at a page out of Lucasfilm, and
Yeah.
with all the Star Wars books, that get written, they're doing this, but it's going to be podcast. So I don't know who they're bringing in necessarily for all the voices.
I was gonna say, are they like having like Kristen Bell and Jonathan
I
Groff?
couldn't find that info, so I don't know, but uh, frankly, you think that they probably wouldn't, given the they fucking get a sound alike that's going to cost them a lot less money, but
especially with all the strict stuff going on.
Well, then right, yeah. So, but anyway, I think it's an interesting idea, and we'll see how it rolls from. I can't think of another Disney property that's done that, as far as kind of like carrying on the story or the lore that they do a podcast for,
like a serialized.
Yeah. So
that's interesting.
Anyway,
Frozen 3 will probably be called Frozen 3: Oh, there you are, Samantha.
Right. The Liz Elise, who's the VP of ABC Audio, says that ABC Audio is thrilled to introduce the power of audio storytelling to a new generation through the Disney Frozen podcast. This immersive series, created in a partnership with Disney Publishing Worldwide and Walt Disney Animation Studios, taps listeners' imagination and offers parents an engaging, screen-free experience to share with their children. So, interesting idea. It'll be interesting. I think it's just very interesting to see how it works. One thing we know about Disney is they're pretty quick to can something if it's not successful. so
or to stretch it out as much as possible if it is successful.
Right. So we'll see how this podcast goes. Not that it's necessarily the target market, but I might be interested in checking out an episode just to kind of see what what the format's like and how they do it.
Yeah, it could be interesting because I almost feel like Kristen Bell would do that, like, and I feel like Josh Gad would too.
Yeah, I think so too.
Him in particular, just because of like what he was doing during most of the beginning of with like lockdown and COVID and everything, with like doing all those like reunion shows that he was doing on there with like the Goonies and whatnot. I feel like it's like and he like loves being Olaf and doing anything related to his time there with. I mean, like the entire cast are now Disney legends from the most recent D23. Dina, Jonathan Groff, Josh Gad, Kristen Bell, all now Disney legends. So, and it'll be interesting to see what they do for the like a third movie too, especially like kind of like where they left it after part 2, like with also like going off essentially to run her own kind of Ice Kingdom ish thing, and then now Anna will actually be the Queen of Arendelle. Should be interesting, especially if that podcast series will be like set in between that, and maybe like how they'll possibly like, because they're gonna make it so you could watch the third movie without having to listen to that.
Yeah.
But then you're gonna also have to reward people that did spend the time to listen to that in some way when the third movie comes out. Be like, see, you're glad that you watched it now because now you got this thing that was going on back over here that maybe you wouldn't have if you didn't listen to the podcast.
Yeah.
But it's still not wholly, the third movie doesn't rely on that, so it's all right.
Is there going to be like Frozen canon? Like I mean, like how stuff goes with Star Wars.
If you do want videos on the Frozen timeline, our friend Dakota over at Geek Critique did say he was going to be doing some Frozen timelines. He's already done a bunch of MCU ones. He's done a few for the James Cameron Avatar movies. and I know that he wants to make some Last Airbender ones, and he had talked about wanting to do Frozen ones. So if anyone is interested in those timelines, you can eventually check them out at his channel where he'll do those too, because he goes very in depth in them, and they're always very well done. So I would highly recommend those if you're interested in watching those too. Um, so moving on from Arendelle to Ela Nublar, uh, Jurassic Park is getting an animated Lego special coming to Peacock. So Star Wars has already gotten a bunch of Lego specials on Disney Plus. Um, so I want to say this is the first Lego IP special that isn't Star Wars. Because there's been like Lego Jurassic Park stuff on Netflix before, like with like the Owen Grady, like Jurassic World era kind of stuff with that. Um, but this is like specifically for the first film of Steven Spielberg's Jurassic Park. It's going to be a 22-minute special titled Lego Jurassic Park: The Unofficial Retelling, and it'll stream exclusively on Peacock this fall. And the poster looks like like the iconic Jurassic Park logo, just assembled out of logos or Legos, not logos. Which actually the plural of Lego is just Lego, not Legos.
That's right. It's not
So
Legos.
variety, you done goofed with
Your
writing out
editor.
Legos. But yeah,
Catch that.
so it should be interesting. The art also had like a Lego Lego version of like an older version of Jeff Goldblum, looking at like the parts of the Jurassic Park iconography that had fallen off, and it looks like his shirt's ripped open a bit because it's like that classic,
the classic
like
Jeff
a meme
Goldblum.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's a play on a line from the movie where it says, "That is one big pile of bricks." So yeah, I mean, I'll check this out. I'm sure like the
That's
Lego
gonna be
specials.
funny.
Yeah, they always have like
They are so clever.
very like tongue in cheek, like irreverent humor.
Yeah.
The video games do that too. Like I enjoyed the Jurassic World video game that they did, and like I'm sure there'll be a Lego Spielberg somewhere that shows up in it. Like he's a playable character that you can be in that Lego game. You can also open up. I think you can get JJ Abrams is the Lego Star Wars game you can get.
Oh yeah, okay.
But yeah, it's funny. You can open up like these different like the directors. Colin Trevorrow is another one you can get for the Lego Jurassic games too. So
Nice.
it's just funny. They're like, yeah, I'm just playing the Lego game as Colin Trevorrow. But yeah, that'll be. I'll watch that because Jurassic Park is one of my favorite movies, and it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it's
to
good.
see how they do that.
That sounds like it's gonna be really fun.
All right, so moving on from Ela Nublar to I don't know where Snow White lived. Where Snow White lives.
The kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah, the enchanted Snow White kingdom. I don't think they ever say it. Like she's kind of like the least developed lore wise for like setting and some other things in that. Like their prince in that for the longest time was just the prince, because Cinderella's was Prince Charming, not in Snow White. Even though in Once Upon a Time live action TV series, Prince Charming is Snow White's prince in that. So I don't know. But anyways, we got, speaking of Cinderella, how we got the 4K release of that earlier this year. So just in August for everybody. It came out a little bit earlier if you have Disney Movie Club.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't seem like they're gonna do that again with Snow White.
With Snow White.
Which what the heck?
It's a bummer.
Yeah, Snow White is gonna get a 4K Blu-ray release just about literally a month from the day we're recording this. So it'll come out October 10th of 2023 for the first time. There's also going to be some retail exclusives, including a Best Buy special steelbook.
Like a steelbook, yeah.
Yeah, and that's more or less it. Like it's like a restoration, just like Cinderella was, which was a very well done 4K.
Cinderella restoration is a knockout. Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about this, I didn't put it in the notes, but thinking of this is that so Disney is also for their 100th anniversary,
Yeah.
they're putting out
We were
the
talking about this today.
yeah this box set that's 100 films from Disney and Pixar from 1937 to this year 2023. Now it looks really cool. It's like these three
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
got
in this
these three
big
kind of
box.
these big
Um
volumes of
yeah,
beautiful
it's like
artwork, the way that they've inserted the discs and on each of these pages.
yeah, and it's like it'll like open up and like rest on itself.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Now
You need a big table.
yeah,
Open that up.
what's not cool about it though is now I know that you know how much it is, but if you were just going to I don't know, really guess about how much something like that was. Now, how much do you think that would be standard?
Well, I was thinking it was going to be around like $499, or $500, which I
Yeah,
still think was pushing it. But I thought they're Disney, they're gonna kind of be greedy and um, try to make something maybe interesting. But the thing is too that I don't know is are they just using the same physical media that we all already own? The Blu-rays of
yeah,
all these films. It's not like they're creating new editions with new content or anything. It's just going to be these existing ones in a much fancier package.
yeah.
And then they've
So
added a couple of other things, or at least one thing in particular that maybe has changes the price. And I know
yeah,
I'm not playing, but holy cow, maybe some people will.
yeah. Like if people are watching, I put up a photo of like a screenshot of the packaging and whatnot for it. But one of the things with it is yeah, like you said, it's only Blu-rays, so it's even though there has been some
There's
4K
some 4K.
releases of more recent films, like Tangled, Princess and the Frog, so on and so forth, and now getting like I just said, some restorations of like Cinderella, Snow White. Um, this is strictly Blu-ray, no 4K. And the other thing with this too is that there's no new bonus features for like the 100th anniversary. It won't have like that special short that they've done that's going to play in front of Wish. So I'm sure that'll just be on the Wish release when that comes out. Almost kind of bummer that I just didn't wait until Wish came out to put this in
Yeah.
that, because that's almost like you buy a Harry Potter box set for uh, Sorcerer's Stone through Deathly Hallows Part One, and then you just have the Deathly Hallows Part Two
Right.
sitting by
The part
itself
two.
next to the
It's just
box
kind of
set.
hanging out by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it's no new transfers. We only have one new film that is new to Blu-ray on there is the Pooh Heffalump film. And then yeah, that's it. So I mean, yeah, like you said, I don't really plan on getting this myself either.
No, in fact, I don't even aspire to it. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah,
if I
like
had the money, I won't think I would want to buy it.
yeah, and like you said, like it's definitely like a hard pass for 1,500. Definitely
It's
for a thousand,
$1,500.
and then like maybe at 500 if you didn't already like if you didn't
If
own
you didn't own,
all of them,
yeah.
then it,
I mean, and the ones that they've added, like Pooh's Heffalump movie. I mean, really? you know,
yeah,
I don't know the whole
you
thing.
know. Oh, and then it comes with the I don't know if they said it's like an actual crystal too, but it comes with like the Swarovski looking kind of like Mickey
Kind of a Mickey
ears
ear hat.
crystal.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I originally saw that I was like, oh, that's why it's 1,500 because that's probably like 1,000 of the
yeah. I said that'd be very expensive. As
yeah.
you could buy that at the theme parks or something, for $1,000.
I was like, but I don't want the
I
crystal.
don't want it.
It's
I
just,
know I
it's
didn't
just
like
gonna
it.
I don't want it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I don't. that was kind of like an aside, but I was thinking about it when we were talking about Snow White coming to, uh, like I mean, like you said, the packaging is really cool. The thing I like about it with the packaging is it has like a self-standing thing when you open it. It's kind of like a book,
It was
so
a
that's kind of
really a
cool.
cool design. Yeah, no
Yeah,
question about it. That's a really
but
cool design.
yeah, maybe if if it was like about $1,000 cheaper than what it's suggested to be,
Yeah, that
then
is
maybe.
it might maybe be tempted. And then also, I mean, too bad they couldn't. I mean, I know they don't want to spend any extra money, but they could have like made each disc special, you
Yeah,
know?
or at least had some kind of like featurette about like the past 100 years
Yeah,
of Disney, or like I don't know, even if they put uh like some of the what's the iWorks
yeah,
docu series stuff that's been only on Disney Plus on like a physical thing within that as like an extra.
be cool.
But I don't know. That's we don't make those decisions.
Yeah, it seems like it's a cash grab, and maybe some people are going to go for it, but I wonder to
Yeah,
see a
I'm not
discounted
really
price
sure
down the road.
who that's for because the person that would spend 1,500 on that would be a have to be a huge Disney fan, and if they're a huge Disney fan, you'd assume that they already
They
own all
already
those
own.
movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like
I don't know.
I know just off screen over here, I have all fi- like I've lost count, like 60.
61, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, yeah,
I
all
think,
61
yeah.
canon feature films like in release order over here from Snow White to Strange World,
Strange World. Yeah. Same.
all all in order.
And
And
I have same in my shelf. Yeah, in my living room. That's what I have
nice.
too.
The four Disney Movie Club ones that you had to buy to finish it off.
To finish the collection, yeah, the
Yeah,
Black Cauldron, right?
yeah,
So,
yeah. Black Cauldron, Melody Time, Make My
yes.
Music, and then the Saludos Amigos
And
and Three Caballeros.
yeah, Three Caballeros
Yeah,
uh,
and
combo.
they didn't even make it so that you got Make My Music and Melody Time as one like set like they did for Three Caballeros and Saludos Amigos, which that's how that movie was released in theaters was Melody Time and Make My Music together. So what? Why'd you separate that? Just so you could have sold two Blu-rays
Yeah.
instead of one?
Yeah.
You're like,
Money
I don't
grab.
know. Anyways, going from that to animated cats, I'll hand it over to you, Stanford.
Yeah, Mark, there was a really interesting article on entertainmentweekly.com or ew.com that did a bit of a deep dive into Annapurna animation. So, Annapurna Studios has this animation unit. They are the ones who finished up Nimona. So Annapurna isn't necessarily like a reincarnation of Blue Sky, but they're, I think, trying to build on the culture, the very positive culture that Annapurna or the Blue Sky had. But
Yeah.
they've attracted some interesting directors to the fold. Uh, Chris Wedge is directing a film for them. Also, co-director of Nimona, Nick Bruno, his next title has been released, and it's Stray, which is based on the adventure, the video game from Blue 12 Studio. Have you ever played Stray or heard of Stray? I think I've heard of it, but I've never played it.
Yeah. So my son is like very much into video games, and so Stray had started as like an indie kind of video game, where originally the only way you could purchase it was like through like a digital copy of the game, and I want to say that it was like through like some kind of crowdsourcing thing like Indiegogo or GoFundMe or something along those lines to get the game finished. But they eventually did have a physical copy that came out for that too. One of the things on that is we have the game. I haven't played it yet. I know that my wife watched and played it a few times. It's kind of cool. Is like with the PlayStation controller, there's a speaker on the controller itself, which sometimes will play sounds. Uh, and it it freaked our our dog Sylvie out because the like when you play through the game as the cat, so you're like going through like levels and stuff, and it's um, definitely look it up too because it's very like realistically animated and everything. It's like in this futuristic looking kind of world that it's set in, but like the cat, you can make the cat purr at different times, but and like the sound will come through again like the controller. So Sylvie would be like sitting like watching him play the game in our media room and would hear the cat purr on the controller and be like, "What the hell was that?"
Yeah.
Just because if she sees a cat in real life, she will freak out. So she was like, even when I watched, I think I talked about it like last year when we talked about the Apple uh, TV Plus movie Luck with
Yeah.
the cat in that, where she was sitting and she's like, "Wait, what?" and like was trying to get to him on the TV. Uh,
Yes.
so she was kind of doing that. I've heard stories of other people that like have cats too that the cat would watch them play the game and would kind of get freaked out or try to see what the heck was going on when their controller would purr or something like that.
Yeah.
So this is a cool translation to. I feel like it fits too because uh, what I'm wondering is, and I don't know if it maybe like how it is in the game because I just know my son played it.
Yeah.
I would like to play it. It's here, like I have the access to it. I just haven't played it yet. Um, is I'm not sure how much dialogue is in it. Like maybe how close it would be to say something like Wally, where the
Yeah.
first 30 minutes or so of that is essentially a silent film with just like ambient sounds and whatnot. So it'll be interesting to see. Again, there might be human characters in it that I just don't know about that the cat is like watching and sees a story unfold that you're kind of witnessing a story going on and you're just following through it as the cat. So maybe that's
Yeah.
how it'll be, but that's what I'm kind of wondering as far as how the story will be told within that animated film and roughly who the animated film will be aimed at. Like
Yeah.
if it'll be a harder. That'd be kind of funny. Like that's a movie about a cat and it's PG-13.
Yeah. 313 rated R.
Yeah. So
So
yeah, it'll be
this
interesting.
this EW article, Mark, is saying that the game is basically a buddy comedy with this cat and a robot,
Oh, okay.
and this is it's a very funny dynamic
Nice.
uh, with it, and that's one of the reasons the game was so popular is that you see the world through this point of view of the adorable cat, and you wonder how they pulled it, how the game developers pulled it off. They're hoping with the story that they're going to be able to pull it off. They refer to this type of story, Mark, which I think I never heard of this phrase before. They call it hope punk. So rather than steampunk, they call it hope punk. It's a narrative concept that optimism is a form of resistance. Uh, so they're loving this term at Annapurna Pictures of hope punk, and they're hoping that this is going to be the first and greatest hope punk movie that's ever been made. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. I'm I'm in. I want to see what they've got in store, and I think sounds like Annapurna Pictures is going to be definitely a movie studio to watch. I think
Gotta keep an eye on.
they're going to be creating some, I think, some really interesting stuff. They're not necessarily trying to be Blue Sky Studios version 2 like we were talking about, but clearly I think they've got enough DNA of people that had worked there that I think they're definitely going to be a studio to watch.
Nice. And so the next thing that I'm talking about is so Elemental, I believe, is already available to purchase digitally.
I think it is too.
Yeah, it's coming out later this month on the 26th
On
physically.
Blu-ray.
Yeah, and then it's going to be on Disney Plus as of Wednesday,
Yeah, on
September
Wednesday,
13th.
13th.
So yeah, so for people that haven't watched it yet, but this movie is like the little movie that could, because people wrote
Oh
it
my
off
goodness,
right
Mark.
right away, and then it kept going and going and going
Ah,
and going.
it's been one of the happiest developments of the summer for me that Elemental had legs, and people were
Yeah,
discovering it and really enjoying it. Because I was so bummed because I absolutely loved it, and then it had so much bad press and there was so much negativity about it, and I was really distraught.
yeah,
uh, but anyway, happy ending.
yeah. And what's bums me out about that too is like sometimes like it's not all like movie blogs or movie news sites or stuff like that. They kind of just like feed the popular narrative of stuff sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, it happened with Blue Beetle more recently, with a
Oh
live action
yeah.
movie, where people like wrote that off right away. But that movie also has strong legs to it. That it's it's not having too much of like a diminishing return week after week. So that this is also kind of like a more recent thing in the past years too, where it's this whole thing of like, if you didn't have a $200 million opening weekend,
Your movie sucks. It's a
yeah,
failure.
your movie bombed. I mean, that used to be how movies did in theaters. They would go to a theater and they'd be there for 6 months.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, you can do that again. Still, people will can, if the movie's still there to watch, people will go and see it
Yeah.
generally.
Yeah.
Because I know there's been plenty of movies like maybe that I wasn't able to go see like the first week or something, or maybe even the second week, but I go to try to see it the third week and there's like one showtime
Yeah. There's like
at
one
noon
showing. It's like
on a
at 10
Wednesday.
a.m. or something,
I was like, I can't go to a Wednesday noon showing of that. I'm at work.
Yeah, I have to go to work. Can't do it.
But yeah, uh, with Elemental though too is that uh, it's been said or rumored that Elemental is also going to have a spin-off Disney Plus series that's in development at Pixar. So there's not really any other news about it other than that. So it would be really interesting to see exactly if it just takes place in the world or if it's with Wade and Ember. Uh, but that should be interesting to see. I'm assuming if it's a spin-off, it wouldn't be about Wade and Ember, because spin-off usually entails it being about some side character. But
There's a
so
lot of
maybe,
characters going on until they could.
or maybe they're really gonna try to make Claude
Yeah,
happen
there's
be a
Claude.
thing. Because they were really pushing Claude in the original like marketing of that movie.
Yeah.
But, spoiler alert to people that may have not seen the movie yet. I will just say that he is not really in the movie that often. Not
Supporting
as often as like
character.
a poster or yeah, like so
Like kind of a minimal supporting character.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Claude's not really a thing in the movie. So if you're looking forward to Claude, maybe this will be Claude's time when that Elemental spinoff happens. The Claude, the the dirty grit, because he's dirt. I don't know. I mean, the movie did have very clever fart jokes in it.
Very clever.
Yeah, so clever
Yeah.
that when I explained them to somebody, they're like, "Oh wait, that was a fart joke." I was like, "Yes, yes, it was. It was just done cleverly enough where it wasn't a fart joke that was in
No,
your
it
face."
wasn't just like kind of a DreamWorks fart joke. It was
Because that's how you get pink eye.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So
speaking
I'm
of
so happy
surprises,
about it.
yeah,
Yeah. So next up is well, I know we'll be talking about this in trailers coming up, but Hayao Miyazaki, who we just got the new trailer for his latest film, The Boy and the Heron, which I'm super stoked about. You know, the word was that he came back to work just to finish this film, and then this is his last film. And I've seen quite a few stories that are saying, talking about the trailer, like Miyazaki's final film. But no, he's not retired. Word has it that that he's not feeling that's his last film, that he is currently working ideas for a new film. He comes into the office every day. He's not going to announce his retirement at all. He's continuing working just as he's always done. So I think the only thing that's going to stop Miyazaki from working probably is death. And let's hope that's still a ways out, because he's just one of the finest filmmakers out there. I'm really looking forward to this film. As I said, we got that coming up in trailers, but anyway, don't count him out. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, every time they try to retire him, they pull him back in. So I don't know, because I mean, right? Yeah, because The Wind Rises was supposed to be his last movie.
Yeah,
but I don't know. If he's not done, he doesn't have to. Like, that's him arbitrarily saying that he's retiring. So it's not like you have to retire because you said so. You can't make anything else. No, you already said 10 years ago. Which 10 years ago The Wind Rises came out? Really?
Yeah, it was 10 years ago.
I was like, no, that wasn't a decade ago. Why? How did that time go?
Where did the time go?
I remember us doing an episode about that 10 years ago.
I know, right? Holy cow. It's just crazy.
And talking about Hayao Miyazaki talking about retiring. It's like yep. Poetry. It rhymes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am looking forward to it. I think it comes out here
is it November or December? I can't remember the release date.
I guess we'll find out shortly when we talk about the trailer.
Yeah, when we talk about the trailer, be reminded.
So keep listening and or watching to find out when that movie comes out.
Yeah. So there was a recent article published with an interview with Jennifer Lee, who's the Chief Creative Officer at Walt Disney Animation Studios. And a question was posed to her about the new, the announced series about Tiana. I think it's called, as in Princess Tiana from The Princess and the Frog. And I think it's just called Tiana, if I'm not mistaken, this series. We don't have a release date, or honestly, I don't really know. We don't know that much about it, but Jennifer Lee, sounds like she and her team are liking this development work that they're doing for Disney Plus. I'll read you the quote. I love that Disney Plus allows us to introduce experimentation and freshness while exploring our heritage. Our meaning that of the Walt Disney Animation Studios. Combined celebration and narrative innovation. In that sense, we can play more with Disney Plus. We are doing the Moana series. I had forgotten that there was even, that there was a Moana series in development.
Which will still be interesting that'll be coming out currently with the live action.
I know. With the live action Moana. I mean, what in the world? It's just, don't get me started. And then Jennifer says, I love it. Tiana is a new world for the character, a new direction and a new voice. And I think it's a very good platform to start playing the things that have meant a lot to many of us. So if I'm not mistaken, Mark, this series animation for Walt Disney Animation Studios is being done in Canada. I think it's out of Vancouver? Is that right? Is that where the
I think so.
Yeah, where that Canada office is open, and then that was their kind of edict, is that they were creating these series. So
it's where Pixar Canada used to be.
Yeah, exactly. R.I.P. Exactly. So anyway, we'll see. We'll see how this rolls out. But I think clearly they're still working on it. It's still alive. I had wondered if it had been canceled, frankly.
Yeah.
But it sounds like it's still.
Tiana's kind of having a resurgence. Well, Tiana, Princess and the Frog.
Yeah.
Adjacent.
with
kind
theme
of a
park
resurgence.
stuff.
Yeah, between like they just themed they like part of New Orleans Square
Yeah,
and
that French
Disneyland.
Market
Yeah, to
Cafe
be
is now
Tiana's Palace,
Tiana's Palace. Yeah.
and then it's Splash
Then of
Mountain
course
will be
Splash
becoming
Mountain.
Bayou
Yeah.
Adventure. So and then I saw like some of the art there too for like re-envisioning there'd be like a huge like willow tree to have more shade over there too, outside of just this other stuff they're adding to the haunted mansion over there,
Yeah,
which
they're
is
doing like a
unreal.
reconfiguration
Yeah,
between the Haunted Mansion and Tiana's place, and there in New Orleans, the New Orleans Square area at
yeah,
Disneyland, and
which makes sense because
it
I
does
mean,
make sense.
Princess and
Yeah.
the Frog takes place in New Orleans, so it's not like it's uh
It's not a stretch for the IP,
yeah.
that's for sure.
Yeah, so and I'm also glad that they're not gonna like change the animation style for that series too. It'll still be the hand drawn
Yeah.
animation that we had for
They're
Princess and
not
the
turning
Frog.
into some kind of CGI.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean I'm sure it could look okay, but it's like I don't know. I just prefer I guess them to keep it
Yeah.
how she already was in that. Uh, but speaking on Disney, like a different part of Disney with Marvel and the stuff they're doing, specifically, so they shuffled a lot of their TV calendar recently with new dates. Um, I mean, they have plenty of their live action shows like Agatha and Echo and like a few other things with that. But the ones we're going to specifically talk about are X-Men '97, which is kind of, sort of the continuation of the 1997 X-Men animated series, and then What If, which is their anthology series that they already had a season one of last last year or 2 years ago. Um, so originally, What If, I believe, was going to be coming out. They had just said like 2023 at one point. But now season two of it is going to debut around Christmas Day. Uh, Although it should also be noted it is not a holiday themed series, like Hawkeye was. Uh, but so I'm happy about that because with some of the stuff we've heard about for what's going to happen and as far as some of the story ideas they have for season two, that I'm pretty excited to see what they do for that. And then the other animated series that they have coming out will be the X-Men '97 animated series that acts, like I said, kind of as a spiritual and tonal continuation of the '90s animated series that was on Fox. And then that one says it'll premiere in early 2024. So I don't know what's considered the
Consider early.
cutoff,
Is it
the
January, February,
cutoff of
March?
early 2024. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just not. It's not December 2024, I guess, because unless they consider that early, I mean, I don't know. But that's being described as basically by people that have seen it as a retro love letter to the original season, and then a season two is already still in the works for that too. Um, so that as far as like animated stuff outside of like, obviously visual effects that'll be in like Ironheart and probably all of these, I would assume. Echo, uh, we know that Loki's gonna have visual effects in that, uh, and just basically all of the stuff. Some now like some of the stuff they had too uh, is taken off the schedule or it just says on pause. And I remember, like, I'm just gonna be quick on this because it's not strictly their animated stuff. I just remember, like, again, people freaking out about stuff, and it's again how people like write headlines to stuff specific. I kind of hate the game to this stuff, where it's like, or how specifically people are writing headlines to get clicks for them, rather like being deceptive about it. Or it's like,
Yeah.
yes, if you read the article that is a link to, it'll show why Ironheart was taken off the schedule and why Daredevil and Wonder Man are also on pause. It is because of the strikes. Ironheart is finished filming, but that's always not like the end of making something. There's probably ADR for that they can't do right now because of the strikes. Daredevil is also on pause and Wonder Man's on pause because of the strikes they can't shoot anything. So So they're trying, like, people are making this whole narrative about, like, oh, they took Earnhardt off the
I
schedule. It made
know.
this
It's
really
like,
bad. It's
really,
like, oh, you're not making a Daredevil show? I'm like,
are you paying
no,
attention?
it's just they can't do anything else with it right now
Yeah.
because but
Frustrating.
yeah. So X-Men 97 What If coming very soon. I'm excited that we will get What If this year because I
Yeah.
was assuming that the that Loki was going to be the last Disney Plus show, like of Disney Plus Marvel series that we would get this year, which I mean, I'd be okay with. I mean, I have a dog named Sylvie, so there you go. But yeah, going from Marvel to something, well,
It's
these
just a fun
characters,
little.
yeah, these characters were influenced by Daredevil in a way. So yeah,
Yeah, this is a
there you go.
fun little story. In that uh Paramount Plus is going to be showing the first 2 seasons of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles uh, animated series uh, on their service starting. Uh, let's see, it's starting pretty soon, isn't it? What
Yeah,
day?
the
It's,
19th.
yeah, so that's gonna be fun. If I'm not mistaken, Mark, the first uh, episodes screened in 1987. Is that right?
Sounds about right.
Um,
So I was obsessed with that when I was a little kid.
so that they're going to be showing the first 2 seasons, and hopefully, they're going to bring more. You don't know if they have to, digitize them or what
Oh yeah.
whatever they have to do to get it ready. But that should be fun. I think that's going to be retro fun. And I think I thought that was a really good call on what for Paramount Plus.
That'll be good for like any of like the like younger generation of kids that maybe just saw Mutant Mayhem that like want
Yeah,
to watch more Ninja
exactly.
Turtles, that now they'll have access to some older versions of it there on Paramount Plus to watch.
Yeah.
And then, so the next thing there too is that after 120 episodes over the past years, the Mickey Mouse shorts are coming to an end. So, like, if anyone's been on Runaway Railway at Disney World or now more recently Disneyland, like it's that take on Mickey Mouse.
Ren and Stimpy Mickey Mouse is what.
Yeah. Yeah. So the Steamboat Silly, the final short of the Wonderful World of
Mickey Mouse.
Basically serves as the series finale and final episode featuring the Paul Ruddish take on the iconic character. And I haven't watched this one yet, but I remember reading or seeing that specifically they did something with Steamboat Willie in this because it's coming, because you know how like the copyright law works is usually it's 100 years. I mean, what anniversary is Disney celebrating this year?
Yeah, Disney's 100, Mickey Mouse is 95. So yeah.
Yeah, so and like that, it's specifically the Steamboat Willie version of Mickey Mouse that's like coming up for expiration. So I think this is almost kind of like a way to like basically restart that clock.
Yeah.
On it. So it's, I mean, you can't be mad at playing the game on that to to use them in some way. It is funny. Look up, if people haven't seen it, John Oliver, Steamboat Willie, and Mickey Mouse, because of like the possibly like the common, like the public domain common use for it.
Yeah.
There's an episode of Last Week Tonight from earlier this year before the strikes where he had a version of Steamboat Willie like in full costume on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. But after that, the kind of go back to Ninja Turtles too, is that the Mutant Mayhem sequel and Paramount series are in the works. We kind of talked about it a little bit, already, but I'm excited for that series because I guess it's gonna be worked in as kind of like a in between story for as far as like Mutant Mayhem and then whatever that sequel is gonna be.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see whatever they do with that. So that is the last of our news this week. So from there, we're gonna get into our trailers, and I'll set up our screen for that really quick. But so the first one we're gonna talk about, it's for a video game actually, for the
Yeah,
Gargoyles remastered
it
video
was so
game.
fun to see that trailer.
Yeah,
That was a
bring it up
cool
here.
show.
Yeah, I liked it. I liked how Greg Wiseman.
1,000 years ago, superstition and the sword ruled. It was a time of darkness.
Got Keith David doing the voiceover for the
Yes.
video game. I'm gonna pause this a few times just so that
We don't
like,
get
the video doesn't get flagged.
yeah.
Yeah. It's the age of gargoyles. Frozen in stone by a magic spell for 1,000 years. Now the spell is...
Speaking of Princess and the Frog, Keith David.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember playing this video game. I think it's like on Super Nintendo that I had it on. But it's gonna be coming out. You can so it says it's now available for pre-order on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Steam. And now I feel old. I don't know what GOG is. It says on GOG, but I don't. If you have GOG, it's on that.
You can
broken. And we
play
live
Gargoyles
again.
Remastered.
Yeah. So yeah, you got classic. Dave said we live again. But yeah, it's cool that they've been doing this with like some of these older side-scrolling Disney games that came out with like Super Nintendo and like Sega Genesis.
You know,
Yeah,
it's so
back in the
smart.
80s.
I mean, because you've got this built-in audience, right? Or people who loved the game, you know, as a kid or whatever, and then just to be able to play it again, but on a on a console, it's perfect.
We are defenders of the night. We are gargoyles.
Something like that I would probably get on the Switch if I was gonna get it, because like I did that with they did like a pack that had Aladdin, The Lion King, and the Jungle Book video games. I don't remember playing Jungle Book, but I had Lion King and Aladdin. So I was like, if I'm gonna have this, I don't need to be playing it on the TV. I'm like, it'll just be cool to have Aladdin. And you can finally beat some boards on it because they have the option in there to like rewind stuff.
Nice.
So like if you fall down a hole or something, you can rewind it and not die.
Excellent.
So I'll bring up the next year trailer for us. It's
Yeah.
for the Ernest and Celestine
sequel.
Sequel, yeah.
This
But
looks adorable.
Who would have known they were going to get a sequel? There we go. All right, so yeah, Ernest and Celestine, a trip to. I'll let you say that.
Gibbertia. No, Gibberitia. I'm not sure.
There you go. Yeah, what did you think of the trailer for this one?
Oh, I thought it looked adorable. Again, just a continuation of what was so cute about Ernest and Celestine, to begin with. And I'm not familiar with the source material because it's a book series if I'm not mistaken, too.
Yeah.
But I saw that first film and thought it was super cute.
Yeah, I remember us talking about that.
We talked about it. Yeah, that's another one, Mark. Was that one we talked about a decade ago, or 20? It was 2014 or something. I can't remember.
Yeah, feels like where it's like this like watercolor paint kind of look to it.
Yeah, the animation's beautiful, very hand drawn looking. However it's been created, but still.
I want to say, I think they did one of the Star Wars Visions.
Oh, interesting.
ones.
Okay.
I don't remember which one. I remember us talking when we talked about that.
Yeah.
I think I don't remember which one it was, but I think it might have been the ballet one.
Okay.
I think that Yeah, because that was the French
It was the
animated
French.
one. So I believe the I don't remember the name of it offhand, but the Star Wars Visions episode for Volume 2 that has like ballet in it. That
Yeah.
is the same animation studio as Ernest and
Oh,
Celestine.
okay.
Tout le temps la fête. Il y a de la musique partout.
Yeah, even the trailers in French. So,
Yeah.
La devise de la charabie. C'est comme ça.
I say, I wonder if they're doing, I haven't looked into enough to know if they're doing an English dub, but
finally, my high school French will come into play.
gonna come to the same here. So come to play.
Je m'appelle Marc. Je suis garçon. Tout à l'heure.
I just remember the weather, Il fait
Yeah.
chaud.
S'il vous plaît. Yeah, s'il vous plaît. Yeah, we're at. This isn't Muzzy. It's not Rosetta Stone, so we're not gonna.
That's right. It's not. Yeah. Anyway, it should be fun. That looks
Non,
cute.
il n'y a plus qu'une seule note autorisée.
Yeah, I like how
C'est
it kind of looks like a.
C'est comme ça. Un musicien.
I mean, it's kind of in the name, but it's almost like a road movie with the two of them in this, rather
Yeah.
than how like the first one was all kind of set in one spice. This says September 1st too, and it's G Kids
Yeah,
as far as
I haven't checked to see if it's arrived. Often these G Kids films in Salt Lake City arrive they'll play it at the local art house theater. I haven't checked to see if it's playing there yet, or if they've got it on their schedule.
yeah. But I mean, I know like we both enjoyed that first one, so I'll definitely check that out to see what's going on there with that. The next one that we have, I believe this one is just straight to DVD.
I think it's straight to DVD,
Yeah.
or digital.
And this one, I don't think I could even find a trailer for it on YouTube. So the video for this one's just going to be on Twitter. It's not on any other web.
Yeah, I
that
just watched it on Twitter or X,
Nope, we're not gonna call it.
the app formerly known as Twitter.
Yeah, this one is Scooby-Doo and Crypto 2. So Scooby-Doo has a long history of crossing over with various people.
Scooby-Doo, like, set the tone for collabs,
Yeah, whether it's Batman, the Harlem Globetrotters,
Ah,
Gilligan's Island,
they were never ending.
the Courage the Cowardly Dog. I mean, I don't. There's that theory where there's like that one thing that's like that connects all TV shows. And I would assume Scooby-Doo is the thing that like connects most.
Yeah, it's like Scooby-Doo.
Universes is because Scooby-Doo's met
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, 6 degrees of Scooby-Doo.
So yeah, in this it's basically like Scooby-Doo set in like the DC universe.
As you can see, Metropolis has gone positively Gotham since the Justice League disappeared.
Trace.
But with them
But
missing,
it's like
Who do you call when your heroes need heroes?
very like 1960s, 1950s era DC.
He can fly in. He's got
Just based off of like how like Jimmy Olsen looks in here.
Yeah.
Like what the Justice League looks like, how like the
more powerful
character designs are.
just like Superman.
So I don't know. Some of the straight to DVD like Scooby-Doo stuff like this has been kind of hit or miss. Mostly missed most of the time, and unfortunately we'll never also get to see that sequel to this Scoob movie, because that was well, another crossover thing, because and Batgirl, because DC and Scooby-Doo. But we're gonna get to see this. This is coming out on the 26th
oh no,
of
we're
September.
still in. All you have to do is unmask this Phantom before all these out of control villains.
And what the kind of interesting though too is that since this is like a 1950s kind of take on what like these characters look like, is specifically that like Harley Quinn didn't exist in the 50s. So they kind of had a like retro,
They had to, yeah.
like, and then because like Zod and Ursa, I don't remember the third,
I'm trying. I know, Mark. I was trying to remember the names of. Yeah.
but they're the very close to like the Christopher Reeve 1978 Terrence Stamp like iterations of those characters.
Yeah.
And then like Joker kind of looks like the Cesar Romero one a little bit, but not really.
Giganta.
Yeah, like in like Giganta, and it looks very close to like the Super Friends
Yeah.
version. So yeah, it just looks like
That's right.
wow.
All right, we have
Lex
to look
Luthor
for
said rats
clues.
right.
Here with a bunch of annoying kids.
So
Meddling
that
kids.
happened. I don't know if Matthew Lillard is still doing the voice of Shaggy either, too. Doesn't sound like it. It's only on digital and DVD.
Yeah. I didn't look it up, but I wondered about the voice talent on it if they were using, said Matthew Lillard or some of these others.
Do you
That we
think
know.
you'll check that out, or
Chances
probably-
are excellent that I won't. But anyway, unless you tell me otherwise, Mark, unless you highly recommend, if you see it, if you highly recommend it.
Yeah, if I end up watching, I'll let you know. When we get to my recommendations, it's kind of related to that, but I'll say that when we get to it. We're about halfway through our trailers now, so the next one.
There's tons of trailers.
Yeah, I'll let you take this one, but it's the next one from Illumination.
Yeah, so Illumination, they just print money. I mean, they're Super Mario Brothers, I think, is the number 2 movie of the year behind Barbie as far as box office goes. Yeah. Their next film is a comedy called Migration, which clearly we're looking at, and it's about a family of ducks that decide to migrate, but it looks like their migration goes horribly wrong. I don't know if it's going to be kind of like National Lampoon Vacation kind of thing,
just with
or
ducks.
rather than going with ducks, or rather than going south like the other ducks are, they go the opposite direction and then end up landing in some kind of city rather than some kind of nature thing. So anyway, I think that the animation style is quite interesting. I like the character designs of the ducks, and then the backgrounds all look very painterly. So really kind of a different look for an Illumination film.
You're impossible.
Because I found a safe place for us to live.
Kamala and Johnny.
Yeah.
What sort of father would I be if I put my young fowl in harm's way for no reason except a chance at a Caribbean vacation?
I don't want to miss out on life because you're afraid to leave this pond.
And Elizabeth Banks, it sounds like, too.
Yeah, I'm trying to. They aren't touting the vocal cast, as
I have it like all written out here.
In the trailer, but I think they probably have it listed in the. They have it listed there in the YouTube.
Yeah, it's written by Mike White, so that's cool. He wrote the White Lotus series. He wrote School of Rock.
Yeah,
he was on a season of Survivor, which if I had been on that season, I would have probably been the only person to recognize him. I've been like, hey,
wasn't he on The Amazing Race too, Mark?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
It's
with his dad,
led by Kumail Nanjiani as the anxious Mallard dad Mac and Emmy nominee Elizabeth Banks. Yep.
You call that
Pam, the Mallard's daring, quick-witted matriarch. Says Casper Jennings plays Dax, the Mallard's confident and restless son. In her feature film debut, Tressie Gazelle plays Gwen, the family's innocent, lovable daughter. Awkwafina is in this. Man, she's playing a lot of birds recently.
Awkwafina, she is like nonstop too. Holy cow!
But she's playing a New York City pigeon in this. Carol Kane is doing a voice. Keegan-Michael Key, like Super Mario, like you were saying earlier, Illumination. So he must have had a good working relationship with them
Yeah.
for Super Mario. And nice, David Mitchell, nice, from the British TV show Peep Show. And then it looks like also Danny DeVito.
Danny DeVito.
Nice. All right.
So
Yeah, I'll check this out.
they've got
Speaking of Ernest and Celestine, it's directed by Benjamin Renner, the Oscar-nominated filmmaker of Ernest and Celestine.
okay. Yeah.
So, all right, I'll watch this. You guys, all right, YouTube notes for this.
It has potential. I hope it's gonna be funny. It looks like it could really be funny.
Yeah.
So.
And like, Illumination's got to tout that they made Super Mario Brothers now.
Well, of course. But Illumination, even if their films aren't really necessarily that great, they still just pretty funny.
Yeah.
Referring to earlier.
And
So.
they always look
Why are we the only birds
really
headless
good
when
too.
it is exactly what I
Yeah, I think that I just thought this had potential.
landing. There is no way we're landing.
This whole thing. Yeah.
When, Mallard? Do it now, or we leave without you.
Okay,
I don't know. Yeah, so it's even like,
We are completely lost. We're trying to get to Jamaica.
oh wow. So they were trying to get to Jamaica and they flew to New York
And
City.
they ended up flying to New York City.
Nice. All right, so that's for migration from one bird.
Yeah,
movie.
so one of those things that I never I welcome it, but I never thought it would happen. We're getting a sequel to Chicken Run, the great comedy from Aardman Animation. This was coming to Netflix. And
Some of the cast has changed from the original movie.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But Ginger, the character, is back,
Well, this time,
and
Zachary Levi taking over for Mel Gibson.
yeah,
breaking in.
It's an impossible mission.
And that's when they're breaking in.
they're right. It's like kind of opposite. They're trying to save their world. And there's this.
And this comes out.
It's in. Is it,
December 15th.
Okay. Yeah.
It says for Ginger and the flock, all is at stake when the dangers of the human world come home to roost. They'll stop at nothing, even if it means putting their own hard-won freedom at risk to save chicken kind. This time, they're breaking in. So it's called Dawn of the Nugget. So
Yeah,
I'm
Chicken
assuming that
Run,
means-
Dawn of the Nugget.
Is this like when chicken nuggets became like a thing?
It's kind of morbid, isn't it?
That place
Yeah.
is impenetrable.
Yeah, and you can't get in neither.
I just am happy to see another movie from Aardman. Too.
Yeah.
And then a sequel to such a fun film. We'll see how it comes together. I hope it's going to be good.
time.
It's all right. I went before we left.
Nice.
Now you've had the appetizer.
There we go.
So the migration one we just ended with them having a going to the bathroom joke. This one.
And then there's another one.
I'm assuming that the Miyazaki movie will not have a bathroom joke.
Yeah, I don't think there's bathroom humor
I mean-
in Miyazaki. It looks pretty deep.
I mean, who's to say? Maybe there will be.
Maybe there will be,
I mean, The Boy and the Heron. Maybe.
There needs to be maybe some humor. It can't all be too serious, right? Even though it's a very serious kind of theme.
Oh yeah. So here. Yeah. All right, and The Boy and the Heron usually comes out in IMAX.
December
8th.
Oh yeah, I thought it was interesting that they're playing it in IMAX too. I want to go.
Yeah, I'm all for animated films getting IMAX release.
Me too.
I think the last one I saw in IMAX was Zootopia.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I can't think of the last one that got an IMAX release after Zootopia as far as the animated movie. I mean, like like outside of Across the Spider-Verse, that I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, this definitely, looks on par with, like Spirited Away,
Yeah.
that whole
Yeah.
kind of vibe for like Kiki's Delivery Service, Castle in the Sky, all the visuals. Yeah, because when Rises, that was like a less mystical kind of
Yeah,
story,
that was more
like,
really set in the real world. Clearly, it was a biopic.
yeah. Whereas like this is
This
clearly,
has serious fantasy elements, as you said, very much reminiscent of Spirited Away. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks. It says theaters nationwide at IMAX December 8th. And then it's just a young boy named Mahito, yearning for his mother, ventures into a world shared by the living and the dead. Their death comes to an end, and life finds new beginning. Semi-autobiographical fantasy about life, death, and creation, and tribute to friendship from the mind of Hayao Miyazaki. Nice. Sounds like a very cool.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a cool movie. Really cool movie. I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was playing at the Toronto Film Festival. I can't remember if it was Toronto or Telluride. I think it was Toronto. The TIFF has started, hasn't it?
Yeah.
And anyway, I think it was warmly received there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I know they had been just kind of like promoting they teased the teaser trailer as they do nowadays. But yeah, definitely looking forward to that. So the next one is it's like a teaser trailer announcement thing for season 7 of Rick and Morty. It's coming out October 15th. Seasons 1 through 6 are already on Max right now. And what I thought was interesting about this one is that it's only Summer and Beth from the show talk about like potential story ideas from this next season, which I was like, huh, interesting, because who doesn't voice Summer and Beth on the show? Justin Roiland, who's no longer a part of the show. But who voices Rick and Morty, or who did voice Rick and Morty? So I'm curious to see what they'll do on this show, because we already talked about it a little while back as far as Solar Opposites, with what they did with Dan Stevens taking over for Justin Roiland on that show, voice work. So it'll be, because they haven't made any kind of hint or announced who's gonna do it. I still like my idea of them just like leaning very, very hard into the Back to the Future origins of Rick and Morty of it all, and just cast Christopher Lloyd as Rick, since Rick is supposed to be like a kind of like a comp for Doc Brown, and then just have, you can either get like James Earl Taylor, who does a pretty good Michael J. Fox sound alike, or his name is escaping me, but the dude that did played Marty in the Telltale Back to the Future video game, and just have them be Rick and Morty on the show now, and then just there you go. But
And I just say, listen to Mark.
I mean, they already had Christopher Lloyd as Rick in one of the live action like little interstitial things they did, so I mean they're already that close to it.
They're already that close,
And then kind of mixing the two stories that we just talked about between Rick and Morty and anime. The Rick and Morty, the anime, I don't really know what it is as far as it's like its own separate thing. It looks like there's not really that much info on it other than here's your first look at the Rick and Morty anime. It was from San Diego Comic-Con this past summer. But yeah, so it's just like Rick and Morty done like in an anime style, very trippy.
Yeah, that's trippy.
Like we talked to, like when we talked to uh, Caroline a few weeks ago, like this kind of looks like some of like that very like out there like morphing kind of visuals that she would have done
Yeah,
for Rick and Morty when she was on that. So it'll be interesting to see this too. I mean, like, because like how they've already set up that show too is like that can just be another multiverse within the context of the series. So it'll be interesting to see how that coexists as something with
yeah.
Rick and Morty proper. But the next one is for the Adventure Time Fiona and the
Adventure
Cake series,
Time.
and I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so this is a brand new 10 episode series that follows the alternate universe versions of Finn and Jake on a multiverse hopping journey towards self-discovery. When Fiona and her sidekick Cake find themselves in the crosshairs of a powerful new foe, they have no choice but to seek the help of former Ice King Simon Petrikov. So anyway, this I guess premiered last week on that one streaming service that used to be HBO Max. Yeah. So I have not watched an episode yet of this. I've watched the trailer. Have you seen any of it, Mark?
I haven't started it yet. I'm planning to start it soon. I've been catching up on another show that I'll talk about on our recommendations, but once I've caught up on that, I'm gonna start this.
Did they dump all the episodes? Do you know, or
no,
are they releasing one a week?
As far as I saw, that like when I last looked, it only had the first and second episode on there. So I think it looks pretty cool too. Is like it's its own thing, while also being a continuation of Adventure Time, because it looks like they did the Distant Lands specials that was also on HBO Max, and then which kind of continued the story from where Adventure Time proper series finale ended, and like this, like somewhere in the trailer it looks like you can see like an adult Jake and adult Finn running around at one point. So it looks like you said, there's like this multiverse thing going on where this seems like a Fiona and Cake from a world where they weren't essentially just the gender swapped versions of Finn and Jake, and from a planet where that all came from. And speaking of Kumail Nanjiani from the Migration trailer, there was a whole thing that happened with this show where the character that he voiced in Adventure Time is voiced by somebody else in this, and there's a whole like drama thing that just happened on Twitter recently where somebody from the show had said that they had reached out and were told that he had passed on it, and Kumail Nanjiani had replied to that. He's like, "Oh, really? I was never actually told about that at all.
Never had that given to me as an option."
I'm assuming that Kumail Nanjiani's agent is no longer his agent, probably.
Yeah, that doesn't sound good.
So, I mean, that's also probably another thing that's going on with all the deals that are happening and stuff. So, I don't know, but I was always a fan of Adventure Time. I liked those Distant Lands specials that they did, and I'm looking forward to this just because with Adventure Time, I always would always call that the smartest dumb show, or in the, like an episode that was like could deal with like existentialism. Like 3 minutes later, they'd have a fart joke.
Right.
And they were able to handle the tone so well that both of those things worked within the space of that episode. So I'm excited for this. I don't know. I mean, I'm glad that they're finding a way to continue it without milking certain other characters, but trying to find fresh, new kind of takes and things to do stuff with that universe of Adventure Time. So I'll be happy to see more with Fiona and Cake in that show. But speaking of another season of familiar characters, I will hand this one off to you, Sanford.
Yeah, so Mark, as you know, I just watch a lot of like Turner Classic Movies and movies. So I have never seen I have not seen season 1 of Invincible. I just have to own up to it. But season 2 is coming out, and new episodes start on November 3rd on Prime Video. What's your thought about this? And again, given that you've probably watched it, whereas I haven't. How do you feel about it?
I'm looking forward to it. The animation has been fantastic for the first season. Like you can kind of see it playing here.
Yeah, I was impressed with the animation. I watched this trailer. Impressed with the vocal cast. Holy cow!
Oh yeah, and it's like very close to like the line work and stylings of the original comics for Invincible that Robert Kirkman did too. And a lot of the voice cast in this is people that he's worked with either like in The Walking Dead, based on another comic that he did, are in this too. So like Stephen Yeun, he was Glenn on The Walking Dead. He now plays Mark on this, not to be confused with this Mark. But yeah, I've like this kind of fits in the same wheel. Like Invincible and The Boys kind of fit in that same kind of wheelhouse, where but they're kind of doing separate things while being similar-ish. I thought season 1 was done really well, and then there's a special that's out right now too that's called Adam Eve, which is a special on one of the characters from the series. She got they did her own special for her in between season 1 and season 2, so that's already on Amazon Prime right now. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to this.
Helping people.
Yeah, there's Adam Eve
People
right
try
there.
to kill us every single day, right?
I don't care how old he is. He needs to go down now.
Maybe if you trained more and complained less, we could get back to saving lives.
And so
Make him pay for what he did to your world.
Welcome, son of...
one of the things people notice too is that Josh Keaton is doing a voice here in season 2. Also Tatiana Maslany. But yeah, Josh Keaton, Spectacular Spider-Man. In the comics, Spider-Man and Invincible had a crossover for a comic. Amazon Prime has a special deal with Sony that they can do that Spider-Man can appear in an animated sense on TV for them. So maybe Spider-Man is going to show up in season 2 of
Yeah.
Invincible. I mean, they didn't say that, but I mean, and maybe Josh Keaton. I mean, he's done plenty of voice work, but that would be cool if, even if maybe it's not Spider-Man and they just kind of, wink, wink, not, because like he showed up in Young Justice playing a character that's like essentially the DC Comics equivalent of Spider-Man, but is a villain.
Yeah.
And I thought that was like a nice thing that, because since Greg Weisman produced Young Justice and also produced Spectacular Spider-Man, that he brought Josh Keaton in to do that. So I mean, it'll be maybe we see Spider-Man in season 2 of Invincible.
my husband.
I am a normal human superhero.
I wish he was dead too, but not for your sake.
Kill first and ask questions later.
But yeah, you can see that all the voice actors and all these people, they're gonna be showing up in season 2 of that. But yeah, I'm excited for Tatiana Maslany. Yeah, Tatiana Maslany too, because big fan of hers from Orphan Black and then She-Hulk more recently too. So
Viltrumite against Viltrumite. That has not happened since the Great Purge.
of course, J.K. Simmons.
You should have died at birth.
Yes. So if you ever think that you have a terrible dad, just go to watch Invincible and then know that Invincible's dad, Omni-Man, is probably the worst one that you could have.
Okay.
But so the last last animated series we're going to be talking about is another one that's based off of a comic book, and I like the funny story behind this is that I don't remember how many years or so ago it was, but back when the film for Scott Pilgrim got released in theaters, there was they did like a short story uh thing that they released that was like done in the style of the comic, and it was voiced by the actors from the movie. And I remember like shortly after that, or maybe a few years later after that, I had sent just like a random tweet to Eddie Wright. I was like, have you guys ever thought about doing like an animated series? Like you could do one season per book, like maybe each episode is a chapter of the comic book. Uh, and then he had just replied, I was like, I think it could be done really well. And he had just replied back to, he's like, we think so too. And then I remember I just replied back, and I was like, oh, I was like, that's good to hear. I was like, maybe you guys could even get the entire like cast of the movie back to voice the respective roles. So, cut to this year, we had that teaser that just announced that the entire cast of the movie is voicing their characters for the Scott Pilgrim anime. And then we finally got this trailer more recently, which looks amazing.
I think it looks terrific.
Yeah, it's very spot on to like the artwork from the
Yep.
books. And I love all the visuals to this. Now it's called, I think it like had like a different name. It was like Scott Pilgrim. It says Scott Pilgrim anime, but it says Scott Pilgrim.
It says something else on the trailer.
Yeah, like Scott Pilgrim. Well, it'll get to it, but yeah, like I think this looks awesome, and I'm hoping it's not just gonna be like Scott Pilgrim takes off. That it's not just gonna be like a limited kind of series thing. I would like it to be what I had in my head many years ago, where I was like, do all 6 volumes of the book. So do 6 seasons. You do the 24 episodes. I don't know, because I don't remember how many chapters were in each of those. And it probably wouldn't work out episodically that it could be done narratively the same way that way. But I don't know. Just so you could spend more time with the story than you could in the movie. Just because the movie kind of takes place over a few days, whereas like those books take the place over like a year and a half or so. So it like makes more sense that like Scott and Ramona in it have more of a relationship than they kind of do like in the movie by the end of that, because you're like, you guys have only kind of not really even been together for like 4 to 8 hours.
Yeah.
And it comes out November 17th, and then this is like another show that like, or I mean another shared interest thing that my son and I have. So
Nice. You can enjoy it together.
Yeah. So I am happy that is finally coming out, so that I can watch it and that he can watch it and I can watch it together. But yeah, so that's November 17th, and I am excited for that to come out.
Yeah.
But that, what did you think of it?
I thought it looked great. And you know, love the visual style. I love that they, you know, just feel like they're just really true to the source material. Love how they brought in the original vocal cast. That's so. Thanks for reminding me. I vaguely remember, Mark, that interchange. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just, that was so cool. So anyway, I think it looks terrific.
Nice. And then so from there, we'll close out this episode of our Animation Fascination News special with talking about our recommendations that of stuff we've been watching this week or stuff you've been want people to check out. And I've been catching up on the Harley Quinn animated series. So I finally finished season 3 from last year, and just started season 4. There was a funny thing. I told you in My Adventure with Superman, there was like a dude that looked like he was supposed to be Trent Krim from.
Yes,
So
from
I
Ted
think
Lasso.
yeah, someone over at DC animated stuff likes Ted Lasso. I mean, they're both Warner Brothers properties. Because Brett Goldstein appeared as himself in like the season closer Valentine's Day special thing that they had from earlier this year. Yeah, just straight up as himself in an episode of Harley Quinn. And then I just started season 4 of that just today, so I've been enjoying catch up on that. That's like another very smartly written show that's has these very kind of like subversive jokes and like doesn't take itself too seriously. Like James Gunn is even in season 3 as himself, directing and writing a movie for Warner Brothers in season 3. So it's kind of like a very meta textual kind of thing. So I wonder if he'll still show up and make himself canon to the DCU once that happens. And then the other thing I would recommend is Ahsoka on Disney Plus, which is a live action series, but it's based off of a character that originated in animation. And Stanford just joined me on Holdo maneuver.
It was
to
so much
talk
fun
about that.
to be on Holdo to talk with you guys about.
Yeah. So,
I think Ahsoka's just getting great. So I'm really anxious for this next episode. I think we're going to be in for a wild ride, for these next 4 episodes.
and then speaking of stuff Stanford and I talked about together on shows other than Animation Fascination, I was recently on Movies Past and Present with Stanford talking about a certain fictional hockey team, and Stanford has started watching something related to that.
Yes, Ducks Fly Together. I had a blast, Mark, talking with you about the Mighty Ducks, and hope people can check out that podcast. And I learned a ton, and so I appreciated that very much. And so I went and checked out the on Disney Plus is the one and only season of Mighty Ducks the animated series that Disney did. It was actually, Mark, and you mentioned this. It was the last produced episode for the Disney Afternoon programming block that used to be on, in the 90s, late 80s and 90s. The first episode of Mighty Ducks the animated series aired in September of 1996, and then it ended in January of 1997. But it's fun. It's on Disney Plus, which kudos, to Disney Plus for actually keeping some of their content, right?
Mighty Ducks related content at that.
Yeah. And not that this was, part of the stuff that they are trying to do the write-off for, but it was fun I just loved everything about it. The production, just because it just reminded me of a more innocent time. Mark, it just was so classic 1990s. This is, the Ducks are these anthropomorphic ducks that play hockey. They're also intergalactic. They're from outer space. They've got these enemies that come in from outer space. Their home base is the pond in Anaheim, which also happens to have, a great headquarters underneath it for them and their rocket ship.
Their ship comes out from underneath it, kind of like the X-Jet and X-Men.
Yes.
Under the basketball courts.
Anyway, I had a blast, Mark. So thanks for always leading me in the ways of coolness, and it's just fun to watch.
All good. And I know we did a Disney Afternoon episode like way, way back on Animation Fascination, and I don't know how much we talked about the Mighty Ducks animated series, but I know that we did because I put it in the art for that episode.
Okay, nice.
So if you can find it on our website, there's a old episode of Animation Fascination that is about the Disney afternoon that we did way back when. But here, I'll look it up really quick while I'm doing this. Is that that's going to be doing it for our episode this week. Don't forget, you guys can find us on the podcatcher of your choice, whether it's whatever. Just search for Animation Fascination. Do like Linktree / Animation Fascination. You'll find us everywhere. So that Disney Afternoon episode was episode 40.
Oh, nice.
And it was March 21st, 2013. So yeah, just a little over 10 years ago. Yeah, and let's see who was on that episode. We talked about Blue Sky on that episode. Jeez. What else? We talked
Was
about
I on that episode, Mark?
it looks like it was me, Matt, and Vactor.
Yeah, because I don't remember
Okay.
being on.
Yeah.
Again, not that it's anything. I just
That might have been
glad to hear that
before
my
you-
memory.
That might have been before you joined, possibly.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering if it was
Um,
before I joined.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, so yeah, we've talked about Chip and Dale, Tailspin, DuckTales, Gummy Bears, Bonkers, Goof Troop, Gargoyles, and then Mighty Ducks was the last one. But yeah, that's March 21st. Yeah, March 21st, 2013.
Nice.
Your buddy Animation Accommodation looks liked that post from all the way back then too.
He was like our faithful reader and listener, you know.
And we appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, especially if you're still listening and or watching this, and whether you joined at episode 40 or episode 0, which I consider like that Entertainment Overload Pleasures of Pixar kind of backdoor pilot to Animation Fascination, or Talking Tangled, which was technically episode 1, or if you joined at episode 112. I appreciate, I know Stanford appreciates anybody that's still listening or just started listening, or watching now too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but thank you.
Yeah,
guys.
thank you.
And then, speaking on that, we'll have some episodes that we have ideas for coming up later this month and next month. Are going to be, we talked about a little bit, Nimona. Again, talked about a little bit. Adventure Time, Fiona Cake, probably when the season ends, maybe. And then I had an idea for kind of like the subcategory of stuff of like things that have been out for a while, but we go back and talk to them about them. Like AF Classics would be one for Over the Garden Wall. I had some other ideas for other ones for shows once my son and I finished them, and with guests for those. But that's just some slight teases of stuff that we have in the pipeline for coming up over September, October, November, the next few months. But you can follow me and Stanford on social media at, basically if you look up my first name, last name, or Stanford's first name, last name, you can find us there. And you can find the show on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Facebook and Instagram is Animation Fascination. Twitter is Animated Podcast. And then you can email the show at animationfascinationpodcast@gmail.com. And then Stanford, where else can they find you online too?
You know, on Twitter or whatever we're supposed to call it, I'm at Stanford Clark, although I'm kind of, I've really mixed feelings about Twitter at the moment. Also, I have a movie podcast and blog at moviespastandpresent.com.
And I'll put a, YouTube videos do the recommendations at the end. I'll put a recommendation to that Mighty Ducks episode there at the end.
Yes,
as well.
absolutely. Thanks again, Mark. That was so much fun.
Yeah,
And this
quite,
was great too. Thank you.
And I'll be on there again this week with Factor and
Yeah.
talking about our top 3
We're talking about Disney movies.
adjacent or Disney produced
Right. Right. Our favorites.
And then the last few things is that you can visit our website animationfascination.net, and there you can find links to our join our Patreon for different person stuff. If you do that there's links for t-shirts and stuff as well. Trent Baxter edits our episodes, but I'm Mark Herbert, so for myself, Sanford Clark, thank you for listening, and make sure to tune in again next time. Hey everyone.